Luchasaurus, and that's Jungle Boy. If you need to check out All Elite.
We are the Lucha Brothers, and you listen All Elite Podcast.
You know why?
Hey, this is Cole Cabana. Check out the All Elite Podcast. All Elite. All Elite.
This is Sammy Guevara, the best ever. And you, yes you, need to go check out All Elite Podcast.
Myself, the man with the huge effort arms, Brian Cage. You're watching the All Elite Podcast. Who better?
We are back, All Elite family. As AJ rubs his mustache, we are ready to go. It has been a week, a long week, a busy week, an exciting week for All Elite Wrestling fans. There's been so much going on in the New Japan professional wrestling realm, the Dynamite Impact relationship, and then the women's tournament kicking off this week. So much going on. If you watch any of the vlog stuff, like there has been so much to watch and consume from AEW this week. But before we get into all of that, AJ, how you doing?
Doing good, man. My family's here. My uncle came here to stay a while, so that's cool. There's a lot of family. Went through some rough stuff that sucked. And other than that, things are pretty good. I'll tell you why they're pretty good later, but they're pretty good.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear things are good. Obviously, as you know, we took a week off from the podcast because my son was born, so that's a good, exciting thing for me. Little Brody is here. He is hanging out, and that is very exciting for me. So it was good to get a week to hang out with Amanda, help her out as much as I could. And
Brody!
I have a week off from my regular job too. So yeah, it's an all exciting thing. I'm very hype about that. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the...
If we ever, hang out more in real life, will you let me be Uncle AJ?
Yeah, AJ, you got it, dude. If we ever actually hang out in real life, for those that don't know, AJ lives in Florida, I live in South Dakota. But one of these days, let's go ahead and talk about some AEW news, AJ. Sammy Guevara has been big in the news this week. He was pulled from the tapings, from AEW, or from the Impact tapings. We had speculated that he was going to go somewhere with the way he had left Dynamite last week. And yeah, this was a very interesting situation, no?
No, yeah. Which kind of sucks, by the way, because I would have really liked to see, because I don't know how many they tape, but I'm pretty sure they tape a lot of fucking television at once. Maybe they do it in increments, like in a few days, so maybe he'll be on the next days. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I feel like he's just not going to be on there for the foreseeable future, right?
Yeah, no, that's the report, that he was pulled off of the show. They pulled him from the tapings. He's not a part of the storyline situation anymore.
Okay.
That's what's going on there.
That fucking sucks, man. I really would have loved to see
really
Sammy Guevara pop
deal,
up on Impact.
honestly,
I do. Because I think that big move away from the inner circle,
right, if you
and then
knew
he showed
what
up
was
and
going
killed
on,
it at
you would
Impact.
know the storyline that he was going to be placed into, and you would know that it was a shitty storyline.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but...
so that's what I'm saying, is why it doesn't really end up being a negative situation for Sammy.
Okay. What was the storyline?
Well, he was going to be put into a situation with Decay, and that just it makes no sense to go from one stable into another stable, because what they have going on with from what
also,
the rumors are,
fucking Decay.
Well, Decay is fine, and what they have going on with Black Taurus is cool, but people were saying that apparently the Black Taurus storyline is what was originally slated for Sammy Guevara.
Okay.
And so it turns out, if that was the storyline, in my opinion, it's really not that negative of a situation for Sammy.
No, you're right.
You're
super right.
All that.
You're super right. I'm sorry, I was super dumb. But goddamn, Decay is like a spooky gimmick, no?
Yeah, pretty
much. It's like
much
Crazy Steve and stuff, and they're all like weird.
You're the Impact aficionado. You should know.
They are. I'm saying yes. Like that. That's a really weird fit for Sammy Guevara. That's fucking stupid. I'm glad that. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. I thought it would have been cool for him to kill it in Impact. Is all I'm saying.
That's kind of where my speculation was, and that's where the situation, I think, became a situation, because Sammy started pitching his own ideas, which probably would have been more akin to that. Him actually killing it in Impact rather than, and who knows what the storyline was. It might have been a really great one for him, but they ended up calling it off. Jericho ended up texting him, telling him to go home from the tapings, and that's that. Sammy responded to that.
I'm so sorry.
You good over there?
No, apparently not. There we go. Now I'm good over here.
All right. Sammy responded to this situation on his vlog today, just calling out anyone believing anything on social media or the internet, saying that they're idiots. So it's an interesting situation for Sammy. I think that he'll still pop up somewhere else, and that'll be very interesting for him.
Yeah, I'm sure whatever they do is going to be pretty cool. I really just hope it involves Sammy fucking killing it, because Sammy right now, in my mind, needs wins. Like, he needs singles wins, just so he's like a bad motherfucker and they've lost somebody really good, not just some guy who is insignificant in the overall picture anyways.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the big things I would take away from the situation, is that this should help elevate Sammy no matter what the overall situation is. Like, it needs to be something that helps elevate him. So I don't know if they can get him over into New Japan or get him a run on New Japan Strong.
They might be definitely strong. Yeah, right? Yeah.
That's where the interesting, or I guess just the confusion lies for me now, with him leaving Dynamite the way he did last week and now not having a place in Impact. Will they just bring him right back on Dynamite, or because they had to have some type of plan for that? So
yeah, no, for sure they had a plan for it, and it clearly didn't go well, which sucks, because really that sounds so cool. I'm still strung up on this idea of him just dominating in Impact, like also getting better in Impact because he's still pretty young, and wrestling like a different variety of people. I don't know. There's a whole lot there that I feel like really could have benefited him, and that it sucks that it fell through like that, man.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just Impact, and he still has a job with AEW, and it's not like he has heat with AEW,
it's not
so
over,
I don't think it's really going to be that big of a detriment to his overall situation.
No.
But, it would have been nice had they done something decent
Would've been
with him
fun
over there. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I still think the Impact relationship with AEW is going to be fun. The relationship Impact now has with New Japan, being able to bring in David Finlay and Juice, is going to be something that's very interesting for
Definitely.
Impact as well. And obviously AEW, as that type of crossover just continues to blend different companies together. It's very interesting what's going on. We could see Finn and Juice pull up into AEW at some point, or at least cross paths with some AEW talent in an Impact ring. So there's a lot of cool things going on that I think that Sammy will end up doing something involved in that cool stuff, and good for him for sort of just throwing his own ideas out there. And because I felt like it was a tough situation for the talent, because they, working in AEW, they probably have a consistent situation where they can go back and forth with their storylines and pitching ideas and stuff like that. So
And that's how it should be,
yeah,
in my opinion.
And so with him now going into Impact, maybe there was just a situation where he was just trying to pitch his own ideas like he does in AEW. So yeah, I don't know. Interesting stuff. Let's talk about this women's tournament that they kicked off last night. I'm not super familiar with all of the talent, but I was familiar with the majority of the talent that went over, and I think that was kind of the point. But they did introduce some very interesting talent. We had Yuka Sakazaki picking up a win over Mai Segura. This was a solid match. Yuka picking up the win makes sense. She was a fan favorite in AEW early on when she was able to compete for AEW in the American side of things, so I thought that makes sense. Emi Sakura picking up a win over Veni. Veni was someone who had caught social media attention during this show and leading up to it. I think because of her relationship, not just because, but she had a relationship with Hana Kimura, and that was something that a lot of people, I think the robe she wore for this show was a robe that Hana Kimura had wore in the past, so that was a bit of a good tribute. Yeah, and I don't want to say that's the only reason people liked her, but there was a lot of discussion just related to that and Veni on social media last night. Emi Sakura looked great. Yuka Sakazaki looked good.
She does. Emi Sakura always does her thing, and she does it well. In AEW, she was doing the same kind of matches, and they landed. And I mean, she's older, but she trained a lot of these women.
Yeah, 100%, and that was probably helped the match itself. There were some points where you could tell Veni was still a little bit maybe newer to the business or whatnot, but she probably has a couple years under her belt at least. All of them look great. A couple other matches where it was Ryo Mizunami picking up a win over Maki Ito, who absolutely took social
Yes.
media by storm last night.
Of
Maki
course.
Ito. I had seen some of her leading up to this, just little bits of highlights and what her gimmick is supposed to be, and I knew immediately it was going to get over great.
Oh, yeah.
Something about her calling everyone simps and everything like that cracks me up. So.
And her Twitter handle is Maki fucking Ito, so they couldn't tweet her name.
Yeah, there's just so much about her character that is supposed to be like this cute Japanese character, but also just like doesn't give a fuck at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to explain it, but yeah.
It's called Yabai, Andrew. It's the opposite of Seis. Anyways, let's go.
Yeah, anyways, so Ryo Mizunami, she looked good though in Victory. I thought that she was an interesting talent in terms of just an alternative side of what Maki Ito was. She was just kind of a dominant force, I would say. I thought they had a good match. I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, a dominant force, Aja Kong, picking up a win over Rin Kadokura. So, what do you think of that?
Honestly, I thought Aja Kong, oh man, this might be bad. It really wasn't. It wasn't great or mind-blowing, but it was a solid match. Aja Kong, 50 years old, still keeping it up. And I like the finish, too. I'll be honest with you, I was talking with my uncle a lot during this match, but I was watching it, and I thought Aja Kong looked pretty decent despite her age, because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what Aja Kong we were going to see. And it is a new Aja Kong, but it's certainly not something I dislike.
Yeah, no, I thought it was solid. I think that this tournament is probably going to line up pretty well for someone like Yuka Sakazaki or Emi Sakura to return to the United States.
I would not be surprised if Ryo Mizunami actually got a push here, because she looked fantastic. Not only did she look fantastic, if she beats somebody like a Yuka Sakazaki, if she beats somebody like an Emi Sakura, then she looks as good as them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that overall they've done a good job with this women's tournament. It also made sense to do this on YouTube and not air it on television. I saw a couple comments about that. Yeah, I agree. It just makes sense in terms of the aesthetic and the overall presentation. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't up to par of what you would want to see on TNT television. In terms of just kind of, and to an extent, some of the matches had the in-ring quality that was just a little bit, probably something more you would want to see on Dark, and so it fits on the YouTube platform. And then just the overall, again, aesthetic of the venue. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't Dynamite, you know what I mean?
Which is weird, because I thought Japan could have limited capacity crowds, because they did for the Tokyo Dome, and New Japan, maybe New Japan just has pull, I don't know.
Well, I know at that time, too, stuff was kind of getting into a negative situation.
That's true.
So.
You're right, yeah.
So yeah, overall, I think that the women's tournament was decent and a good way to kick it off, getting all four matches off to a good start. You know what I mean? And going to continue forward with that. So I think that.
I'm looking forward to the next episode of this. I really do like this tournament. I know it's not the greatest wrestling.
I am, but I'm not, because I would like to have someone besides just Ryo Mizunami in terms of a new talent that I'm getting familiarized with. Like, if I was able to follow, and it's probably because I'm a mark for Maki Ito, but if I was able to follow her with a run through this tournament over Ryo, cool. Because we know Yuka, we know Emi, we know Aja Kong, like, we've seen them in AEW in some capacity. We're not learning anything new about them. They're not super fresh, and it's still fun. Still fun, especially Yuka Sakazaki. She's someone that had the same type of attention early on. But I just would have liked to see one of these, anyone, even Venny.
I totally see where you're coming from, but at the same time, me personally, I like to see a star get made, not just see a star I like and follow them. I like that too. I would have been fine if Maki Ito won. That would have been totally cool, and I would have been like, fuck yeah, I was rooting for her. But when Mizunami won, I was like, I think I can get behind this person.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't necessarily know that I feel like any of these four is a star being made, though. That's where I'm at. I think that maybe you could have done that with Maki Ito with this tournament. I don't necessarily know if you do that with Ryo Mizunami or Emi Sakura.
I mean, you don't think if she goes the distance and wins the title, she wouldn't be made into a star?
Yeah, Ryo Mizunami probably would, but it would just kind of, I can't say, because I don't even really foresee that happening. So,
I'm just saying, as a possibility.
No, you're right, 100%. I just feel like also they're not really giving me much of a belief in a contender. And this is just me. I think that overall they're doing a great job, but for me as a consumer, I don't really believe necessarily one of the people on the Japanese side of the bracket is going to come out on top of this tournament.
I gotcha.
Because I don't feel like there's that story of a star being made yet. And again, you might be on the right path with Ryo Mizunami there, and I could be off there. So yeah, I think they delivered a really good introductory show though with these women, and going forward, it's going to be a solid tournament. We already saw Thunder Rosa advance on last week's episode of Dynamite, which we'll get into here in a minute. But they did a solid job. And this women's tournament's going to be interesting. The finals are going to be at Revolution, so we will, I would assume, see one. And you have to, right, for the finals. One of the Japanese talent will be flying over in March, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting thing to note. Like that feels very interesting to me, because that means they're bringing over Japanese talent in March for the pay-per-view. You're going to hear the coins drop at the end of the pay-per-view, AJ. I'm calling it right now.
I have a question.
This is gonna be the next one that I'm gonna get to share after the pay-per-view of me getting to call something right. We're gonna be able to hear the coins drop, because if they're facilitating a couple of Japanese talent to come over at a point in time, I feel like you want to bring someone like Okada over too. So
this motherfucker, after what happened last time,
I'm just saying.
I'm just gonna say I agree.
There you go.
Because my chances are in favor of saying I agree. So here we are.
I hope we're right.
Okada is coming, everybody. Two people believe it.
And I could be wrong. It could be any. But I just think, and it could be totally like a wild.
No, I think you're right. And honestly, I'm not just saying that. I honest to God think you're right. And I feel like, who's the biggest fucking star you could get from New Japan? I know, Kota Ibushi. I get it. Fucking Okada, though. You're fucking out of your mind if you think Kota Ibushi is not is a bigger star than Okada.
See where the world is at then, man, because things are kind of changing. I know that COVID numbers have been going down, vaccines have been going up. It got really cold for everyone, so they've been kind of self-quarantined for a week anyway. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the next month, where things could get really good. But all I can tell is if they're going to finish the tournament up at the pay-per-view, they're bringing Japanese talent over. That is something I didn't necessarily know was a possibility, and obviously Kenta's here, but I know he lives in Florida, so I just don't know how things are working. So that tells me we might see something at the pay-per-view, because if you're gonna do it, you want to get it all done in one full swoop. That's my full thinking. So,
but one more thing, the money clip fucking sucks. If he uses the money clip in AEW, I hate Okada. He should use the Rainmaker. The money clip is stupid. I don't want people to think I'm some money clip mark.
All right, you're not a money clip mark. Let's talk about the ratings a little bit. We're not ratings marks, but they should be spoken about. Dynamite did 741 over NXT's 558. Nothing too crazy.
No, not really.
For AEW, I think they lost about 100,000 over the past week. With everything getting interesting, though, I don't see this being an issue. I feel like we'll see the number gradually go up. We're kind of going to hit the same stride I feel like we were almost at this exact time last year, where we were talking about, oh, Dynamite's getting in its best spot ever. The rating is about to be at 1 million consistently. Remember when we were there, like a week before the pandemic and everything really went crazy? I think that we're getting there again, and this is kind of just a slow build to it. We're going to take a bit of a dip, and it's about to go up. So, yeah, I think that this isn't a negative at all for AEW. I think with the relationship with Dynamite, or with Impact, and with New Japan, and maybe even Ring of Honor, people were thinking that after Private Party had tweeted some stuff. So, yeah, a decent rating, nothing too crazy. We are going to talk about Dynamite here in a minute, but before we talk about Dynamite, we do have to talk about the fact that Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy fell short at the Impact pay-per-view. I don't know if you got to catch that yet, AJ, but we have to talk about it for the podcast.
Yes, I did catch that.
Okay, good deal. What'd you think of the match? What'd you think of their falling short and the storyline coming off of it?
Dude, it was fun, but the whole time I was thinking, like, Chris Sabin and James Storm, what the fuck? I don't want that. That's not the tag team that I want. You know what tag team I want, assholes? Give it to me.
But
they did.
It did lay the belief, I felt like maybe a Private Party could score a victory over James Storm, that type of
That's
thing.
true, but like I don't know. I was hoping they would win. I wasn't surprised that they didn't win, but I did think there was a possibility that they could. I thought if anybody was going to win, it wasn't going to be Saban and Storm. That's weird. Shelley's going to be back at some point, and there would be the Good Brothers Private Party. So it being the Good Brothers, that makes sense. If it was Private Party, that would make sense to me.
Did you see that Private Party tweeted afterwards at Matt Hardy that they wanted to fight Gresham and Jay Lethal?
That would be great. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be great.
It's a fun tease. It's an interesting tease, and Tony Khan is trying to open the forbidden door to anybody. Him and Cody Rhodes have been talking about WWE for the last week. I don't know if you saw that. I'm not buying it. They've said that they want to do. They would work with WWE on 2 separate interviews. Tony Khan did one and Cody did one, where they were like, "Yeah, we would work with WWE if they wanted to," and it sounds great, but come on.
Dude, it would be amazing though.
It would be, but it would never, like, it's just not going to happen. And then granted, maybe they do some type of, like, big end of pandemic wrestling is the world type thing where every promotion has a representative, but that's literally like Mark booking, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, for sure it's Mark booking. Do you think I care that it's Mark booking? I'm a Mark, Andrew.
You're right, and that maybe that's what we should lean into, but I don't think that it's gonna happen. So, but
you're right.
But
I'm not saying
Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, everybody involved in that type of relationship in wrestling, they've proved me wrong 1,000 times. So I'm wrong every time. They get the New Japan relationship, they get all these relationships. So with WWE, it could happen. It's worth mentioning, I suppose, but that's not the one. I'm not going out on a limb saying that we're going to hear John Cena's theme at Revolution. We're going to hear Okada's theme, all right? So that's it.
But if that happened, that would be the best.
John Cena and Okada. Like, Okada comes out and then literally...
That is like, here is my friend John Cena!
That would be ridiculous, AJ, and you're ridiculous. But yeah, that wraps up the news for this week. There was a lot to talk about. We probably missed a couple things, but the women's tournament, I feel like, is one of the bigger, more exciting things. And I'm excited to continue covering that. I'm glad they're doing a little bit to add some depth to that division. And... yeah, I think they've done a good job.
That's what I'll say. I love the women's tournament now that I watched it. I don't know if I would have watched it if we weren't doing the podcast. So to your point, yes, I get where you're coming from.
What was my point?
Like that, like it's not so great that like you want to keep watching it every week, and there's not a big chance that Ryu Mizunami's gonna go the distance.
Okay. I was like, I didn't bury it at all, but
no, I didn't think you buried it. I just mean like.
You're right. That is my point. I don't have a whole lot of. They didn't bring anyone in that tournament that I'm like, oh man, I'm a mark for them now. Like Yuka, I do like Yuka Sakazaki enough to say that I'm not disapproving of any of it, and Emmy. So it's not a bad situation. I just I wish that they had more fresh talent continuing on in the tournament to give me someone to continue learning about. That's my biggest takeaway. It didn't even have to be Maki Ito, but it should have been Maki Ito.
It should have been Maki Ito, you're right.
We're just some simps.
But I do like Ryu Mizunami, so I'm not that mad.
Yeah. But not, like I said, lots to talk about. Thankful for that much. Maybe I should take a week off all the time so we have a whole bunch to talk about. But it's not even because I took a week off. It's because they just had a ton going on with Impact, with the women's tournament, everything. The New Japan situation. There's so much to talk about, so much to keep covering. So let's go ahead and talk about last week's Dynamite very quickly, hopefully. Let's not spend too much time on it. That way we can talk about this week's Dynamite still, trying to cram everything into one episode. They opened up Dynamite with Darby picking up the win over Joey Janela to retain his title. Definitely not a bad match. Nothing too crazy. What do you think?
I liked it. I don't want to like spend a whole bunch of time talking about it. It was cool. It didn't exactly live up to my expectations, what Darby and Joey have done, so it wasn't amazing, but I liked it.
I agree with you there. I think if given the opportunity with the long built feud and a big blow-off match, these two could do something really crazy. This isn't that, but maybe it leads to that down the line. But yeah, nothing too crazy. Mox cut a decent promo on Kenta, hyping up their match for the night, the main event. tonight, and then their match on February 26th. Decent little promo. We then get Sammy Guevara backstage with MJF. Going back and forth, MJF goads Sammy into saying some bullshit, and he was recording Sammy. Sammy was pissed off about it, punches MJF, leading up to what we see later on in the show, but I didn't think much of this. It was kind of goofy because he just punched him in the gut.
It was super goofy, and I don't know if it's the point is it's supposed to be goofy. Anyways, I thought it was fine. Like, I got it. I didn't think anything of the gut punch would be later on in the show, but it was. And I don't know. He broke his phone. Sammy's cool. That's what I took away from this.
He's definitely cool, and I'm glad to see that Sammy's on the face side of things. But the segment wasn't bad. I don't want to sound like it was horrible, but the gut punch, I was just kind of like, this is silly.
Yeah.
The next match, we got Lee teaming up with Cody Rhodes to pick up their win over Peter Avalon and Caesar.
And then he shafted QT Marshall.
Dude, yeah, that was messed up. QT Marshall's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
I'm excited. This is Lee Johnson, right? I don't want to get the wrong name incorrect, but I'm pretty sure that's the name. Yeah, Lee Johnson picked up the win for the team of him and Cody, which was his first victory in like 2,000 matches. He thanked everyone in the world except QT Marshall. QT Marshall in the background, visibly pissed off about this. If you don't watch QT on Sammy Guevara's vlog, you should, because you will be excited as all hell for this heel turn. And granted, QT's not going to be able to cuss out Lee Johnson the way that he does Fuego del Sol, but if he can even do half of that on Dynamite the way he does on Sammy's vlog, it's going to be amazing, dude. I'm sure you haven't watched much of it. I just started watching Sammy's vlog this last couple weeks, and QT Marshall just goes off. He's always just shitting all over Fuego del Sol, like, you piece of shit, and just going in on him. And Fuego del Sol is always just trying to have a match with him, but it's always when Fuego del Sol leaves the room that he starts shitting on him. Then he comes back in and tries to pretend to be nice to them. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna get you a match. We're gonna have a match. And then he leaves, and Sammy and QT just start roasting him, and it's freaking hilarious. So I'm excited to see QT get more into a heel role, because they have a lot of good stuff going on Sammy's vlog. If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's fucking.
I'm gonna now that you mentioned that.
It's comedy. It's pure, just like ridiculous nonsense. Very similar to BTE, but a little bit more just stupid, and I love it. But it was good stuff, and I'm excited for it. So. We then go backstage with the Young Bucks. They're talking to the Good Brothers. They end up goading themselves into a match against Santana and Ortiz this week. They're going to defend the titles. I'm not really sure how this came about from this conversation, but I'm excited for the match.
This was fucking stupid. What are you talking about?
I'm excited for the match. That's all I said.
So they're like, aw, man, we can't pick the Good Brothers, so we'll pick another team. You could just pick teams?
If you could just pick teams, why didn't they pick the Good Brothers? You're
right.
What the
fuck?
But I like Santana and Ortiz. That's why I'm okay with it.
I'm not, like, mad they're getting a title shot, but they're not going to win, first of all. Fucking come on.
They might.
Second of all, if
they win, then it'll be MJF and Jericho versus Santana and Ortiz.
No, if they can just pick their opponents, they should have been like, wait, we can just pick you guys, and we'll wrestle you for the titles, and them for the titles. But apparently that's like a...
But they would... listen, if you're the Young Bucks, you know that's a money match. You do that on the pay-per-view. So if you don't want to fight the Good Brothers on Dynamite...
This is like your head canon?
That's fucking true. You know it, brother. Come on. Anyways, yeah, I'm glad that they're defending the titles against Santana and Ortiz, but I'm not going to argue with AJ. It wasn't very sensible. And maybe that's the point. Maybe that's the point, is to be like, we could have fought you guys. But, yeah, I don't know. Pac picked up a win over Ryan Nemeth. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but Ryan Nemeth...
Ryan Nemeth sucks.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't. We're gonna sound like another old school negative episode, but yeah, he wasn't that good.
I'm not defending.
I would rather see some of the other guys that they've brought in on Dark and stuff get more time to shine on Dynamite.
Like any of them, because Ryan Nemeth sucks. Did you hear his promo?
I didn't actually.
I posted it twice in the chat because of how bad it is. It's the most monotone, nothing promo I've ever heard in my life.
Didn't sound like Dolph at all.
No, he did, but, like, if Dolph was really boring, like, if Dolph was a librarian for a living, like, what the fuck? Just add some emphasis when you talk. Just, like, it's like, I'm the Hollywood hunk. And it's like, Okay.
See, then we've spent too much time on Ryan Nemeth already.
You're right.
Pushing
right.
pushing forward, we had a hype video for Miro, the Miro, Kip, Orange Cassidy, Chuck Taylor situation. This was interesting, but it really wasn't. It wasn't a whole lot for me. It was just like a hype video, right? Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't build to much. Kip has been. I've been loving Kip. And he's injured, I'm pretty sure I saw, so we won't even get the blow off to this for a little while. But he's been doing some fun stuff on YouTube with Sammy G as well, not on the vlog. They have their own little show where they just bring people in and interview them with no prep or anything, and it's just the most stupid, ridiculous conversations. But yeah, AEW has some good content coming out over there. I love it. We go backstage. Chris Jericho's getting interviewed. MJF comes in to start discussing the Sammy Guevara situation, but they have a match up next, so they don't have a lot of time to talk about it. We have MJF and Chris Jericho pick up the win over the Acclaimed, and another good match for a team going against MJF and Jericho. It's like they're a perfect package to help some of these younger teams get established, get a really good match in. What do you think of the match itself?
I liked it. You kind of took the words out of my mouth. I really feel like it was just solid in every way, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very cool to see MJF and Jericho, and you kind of probably got to give a lot of credit to Jericho for it, but they've done a good job at helping the tag team division, and AEW's done a really good job at putting together these teams. We saw it last year with Hangman and Kenny, and now we're seeing it with MJF and Jericho, where they're not a traditional tag team, so the fact that they eventually have to put over another team is going to benefit the entire division, because those guys will go on to continue to be singles. It will help the tag team division because it's not burying one team to make another team. It's just elevating one team and sending two singles back off on their own. There's so much smart business that comes from something like this. We could see Jericho turn on MJF this week. We could see it come in 6 months. They could be a tag team that wins the titles. Like, there's a lot that could come from this.
Yeah.
So, and the Acclaimed has been a team that I've been relatively impressed with, and their showing in this match was really, really good.
I think they just looked fantastic. Like, they're so young, and I know, like, okay, they're a little bit green, but like, I was talking to a friend about wrestling, and I was saying, and we were talking about how like wrestlers are like so copy and paste nowadays. Like, they're so like, wrestler, he does flips, he kicks, he like they're all ricochets except shittier, and you don't have any like swagger, like it, and these guys have it. Like, these guys like exude it. Like, they have swagger, they have a vibe about them. The Shinsuke Nakamura coefficient, if you will. Like, they have something, they have a presence about them that I think no matter what they do, like, yeah, maybe they're not the best in the ring yet, but they're definitely gonna be at some point, and they're also gonna have this amazing like just vibe about them.
Yeah, I agree 100% that they've done a good job with this team at just sort of establishing a new, interesting team for the division. So, continuing, we had Matt Hardy. Or no, this is when Sammy Guevara hits the ring and quits the freaking inner circle. We cannot just walk all over that point.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did kind of talk about it.
Well, but yeah, it's still like probably the most important part of the show.
You're right.
Sammy officially telling Jericho, I told you months ago that if anything happened, I was going to quit, so I'm going to quit. And so good for the continuation there. Appreciate that much. So
honestly, if we're going with continuity, he should have like quit like 3 weeks ago, because MJF has been doing nothing but being a dick.
You're not wrong, but he gave it time to really flesh itself out.
Like, it had to be a real big issue, and I'm
curious to see how Jericho responds to this in storyline form, but yeah, we'll have to see. We had Matt Hardy backstage. He's trying to get Adam Page to sign a contract in a bar, but Adam Page is a fucking genius and pulled out his own contract, so we'll have to wait and see where that leads to tomorrow. Sting cut a promo, but before he could do much, Taz showed up and had Darby in a body bag getting driven around a parking lot.
Yeah, that was fucked up, huh?
He's
dead, right? I mean, that's what I would assume.
Here's the part about Darby that makes Darby so fucking great, is that he probably maybe was actually in the body bag, but even if he wasn't, because of every other crazy thing he's done, you will believe he was. Like, there's no reason to discredit it. 99.99% of wrestlers, you would be like, that's a fucking stunt double, or there's not a real person in there. Because it's Darby, you're like, It probably
Maybe it is. You're
him
right.
in
I didn't
there.
even consider that. I assumed it wasn't because I thought like, no, that would kill you. But now that you mention it, I think Darby would be like, that would kill you. Cool.
Might as well give it a shot, dude. So yeah, that was what I took away from it, was like Darby's, but that's where his crazy shit I think is helping him, because it leaves that impression in your mind as a fan over time. So good stuff there. Sting tried to run and save him, but he's Sting, so
He's old.
he
He can't run fast.
He should have just called the cops at that point, Sting.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Like, honestly, they've got him in
He's
a
gonna-
body
he's
bag.
He's gonna catch the truck.
Like, just call the cops, Sting. That's all you can do.
Gonna send ravens after them.
Crows, dude. Anyways, Kenny
Well, it was a
Omega-
raven in WCW, even though he's Crow Sting. I don't know why.
Kenny Omega was backstage hyping up his match with Kenta tonight. They're going to be a team. He says he's going to get Kenta on his side. Solid promo. Thunder Rosa picks up her win over Layla Hirsch. We talked about this a little bit earlier on in the show. Thunder Rosa advancing on in the tournament. Solid little match. Thunder Rosa's great. Excited to see her continue on in the tournament.
Yeah.
I think I could see where this tournament is going. Thunder Rosa versus Rio potentially being the next match, and then Rio picking up a win. Rio versus Britt in the finals for the U.S. side of things. I would love that. That's my prediction.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and I think Rio's match is this week, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't have my bracket ready. I would have to think about it a little more, so I'm not going to sit here and do that. But I do like your idea a lot, and also I don't know anybody. I love Thunder Rosa, so if she did go the distance, that would be perfectly fine with me.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think Thunder Rosa in the finals against whoever picks up the victory on the Japanese side of the tournament would be amazing. I think that would be so much fun. But I think that with her contract limbo situation, that's one of the bigger things.
I totally get it.
Makes me think it's not a possibility, but I would love to see it. We got Jungle Boy cutting a promo on Dax Harwood, continuing on the situation last week with Jungle Boy, or with Marco Stunt, I should say. Fine promo, fine way to build up. Fine way
he
to
needs
build
to do
up.
more promos, is all.
Definitely, but that's how he gets better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I'm not
what
saying it
is
was shit
different-
even.
No, and it's tough because like that's him. I've heard enough interviews from him. I've seen him on enough backstage type things that's kind of just him, laid back, calm, doesn't actually get that hype. He's gonna have to turn on. He's gonna have to recognize that. All right, I gotta flip a switch and become a different person, and that's what everyone out there watching wants me to do. That's what everyone I work for wants me to do. Like, that's what I need to do, is I need to flip a switch. And when he flips the switch on the promos, the same way he does in the ring, you know what I mean? Because it's not like he's off beating the shit out of everybody 24/7.
You know what? Maybe we're wrong, because I'm thinking Matt Riddle, RVD, like,
laid back,
now
chill
I'm thinking,
dudes, yeah.
Like, maybe he does. Maybe he can just be chill. Maybe that'll work for him. But I agree
where
with
it is
you.
a struggle
I'm
right
just
now.
saying.
Where it's a struggle right now is the laid back, chill, like kick ass kind of guy. You can't and it does kind of work for Matt Riddle. So maybe I'm wrong, but it's tough right now for Jungle Boy. And his promo will just get better. I think that over time it'll get better. But that is definitely kind of just him. So we'll have to see him turn it up a little bit to really use that effectively. But he's not a bad promo at all. That's definitely not what we're saying. But he's such a good in-ring talent too. I think that it makes it shine even more. And it's funny because Griff Garrison's the same way. They have so many funny comparisons, but Griff is the same type of way in terms of like his charisma doesn't necessarily exude itself in a promo or a backstage segment the same way it does in the ring when they're just kicking ass. So. And that falls for a ton of different talent. I shouldn't always box those two up. The main event, Kenny Omega teaming up with Kenta to pick up a win over Archer and Moxley.
Really good match.
It was a great match, but it wasn't as like killer as the other Lights Out matches. So I wish it wasn't.
Well, this wasn't a Lights Out match.
Wasn't it? Okay.
No, it was
that's
Falls
where it's
Count Anywhere.
confusing because Kenny told him he needed to turn the lights out. Or
Yeah,
maybe
I don't-
Mox did, I think, yeah.
Somebody said that, but it was a Falls Count Anywhere.
Okay, yeah, good match, solid match, nothing too crazy. You're right though, a great match. Like I'm downplaying it honestly, but they did a good job. And it's so fun to see the relationship finally happening. So
Yo, I'm so sad that table didn't break when Kenta did the double stomps off the stage onto the table.
that's the way it fucking should be, bro.
But yeah, the tables don't break. That's where he's from. What?
It's a good show. It was a good Dynamite. I think that they delivered a solid show. Kenta being involved was obviously a great part of it, but overall, a solid Dynamite. As we continue to build up to the pay-per-view, being able to incorporate the New Japan storyline right now is actually really perfect because we were wondering we got to kill time until the pay-per-view. Now we're once again back on that same timeline. You know what I mean? Because a couple weeks ago they pushed the pay-per-view back. A couple weeks we were like, shit. What are they going to do with a couple extra weeks? Oh, we'll just bring in New Japan and fucking remind everybody that we can do cool shit like that. So, and I saw a report, I don't know if you knew this, that you remember, and you might not even totally remember, but when New Japan, might have been pre-pandemic, they weren't able to get a bunch of talent into the U.S. because of visa issues. So they were doing a New Japan tour in the U.S. and they were short talent. Apparently, Tony Khan wanted to loan them some talent for that. Or loan them Kenny actually for that, and they weren't able to come up with a working relationship for that situation. But yeah,
wow.
So AEW,
no, I had no idea.
AEW's been trying to do this working relationship for a while. It obviously needed to be a right time, right place, right situation, because you would have thought that would have been it. And shout out to Tony Khan for continuing to try and help, but in a strategic way. You know what I mean? Like it's not just here, let me help you and get nothing in return, but here, let me continue trying to help you. Eventually you'll accept my help and it will benefit both of us. And I think that's genius. Shows what kind of guy Tony Khan is, and a smart businessman and a good guy overall.
Because here's the thing, anytime Kenny Omega, or not Kenny Omega because he doesn't, but Chris Jericho or John Moxley go to New Japan, it only benefits AEW. Even if it's not about, AEW versus New Japan, or AEW and New Japan are doing an angle. Even if they just go over there like Chris Jericho fighting Tanahashi, which happened in AEW, that's going to just get more eyes on AEW because he's in another promotion as well.
Yeah, and Tony Khan has always been smart about it too, in terms of limiting their ability to work with New Japan in America. Well, like I said, he tried to open that door previously. He still made it clear, like Mox wasn't able to do the G1 show in the U.S. and stuff like that, because you don't just, like I said, you don't just give without being able to eventually receive in return down the line. So he's a smart businessman, but also a guy who was willing to help. So that was dope. Good stuff there. That just clicked in my mind, so I figured we should talk about it. Let's talk about next week's Dynamite real quick before we wrap things up. They have a solid card. FTR going up against Matt and Mike Sydal.
Dude, I thought Mike Sydal was dead. I had no idea he still wrestled. Holy shit, Mike Sydal, like fucking
Punk's
2012.
Sister. I didn't ever know who Mike Sydal was, so at least
he does weird shit, dude. I want to prepare you.
Who are you to say that? You do weird shit.
He's a contortionist, so he gets put in submissions, and it looks like his limbs are being pulled off.
No, well, that's what we're probably gonna see from FTR.
It's really gross.
I like it. I'm down for it. He's gonna do some crazy shit. So yeah, not too familiar with Mike Sydal, so I don't know what to expect. AJ gave us a bit of an insight though, so that's interesting. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot for this match though. I'm probably quick swash for FTR, and yeah, Matt Hardy teaming up with Hangman Page and Private Party to take on the Chaos Project in TH2. Matt Hardy on social media talking about how Hangman Page is a part of Team Hardy now. I don't think he knows that he's probably not. And we'll probably, hopefully get some...
love that. I love that Bugs Bunny-ass contract shit.
It's so stupid, simple, but amazing. So I love it. And it's probably going to end amazingly. Like, and how, like, Matt didn't sign the contract first, you know what I mean? He gave him a blank contract. Like, just so much of it's hilarious. They're continuing on with the women's title eliminator tournament with Serena Deeb going up against Rio. This should be good because this sets a precedent. If Rio can beat Serena Deeb, maybe she doesn't win the tournament, but could get an NWA Women's World Title shot.
Yeah.
If I'm NWA, I definitely want that to happen. I definitely want Rio to be the NWA World Champion. So, yeah, I think this is gonna be fun. We haven't seen Rio in freaking forever, right? Like,
it's been a very, very long time.
Like, has she? I feel
like it's been over a year.
I don't know if she's been back at all.
No.
I thought she might have come back recently because they've hyped this match up, so I wasn't sure.
No, but this is her return.
Cool, very exciting. Very excited to see her back. If she loses, I riot. Santana and Ortiz getting a title shot against the Young Bucks. Obvious victors here, the Young Bucks most likely, but probably building up to their pay-per-view match. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Santa and Ortiz do win for some reason, cool. Like, if they want to do an Inner Circle war and just disband the Inner Circle that way, then okay. But I don't expect that to happen. I still think it's weird they can pick their opponents.
Because then you would probably see the Young Bucks fight the Good Brothers in some capacity, but then you just have so much internal warfare going on that why are we doing that all on one show? Seems very WWE-esque, something you would do at Survivor Series or something. So yeah, let's not go there. But who knows? Like I said, I don't see Santana and Ortiz winning this one, but I love them, so if they did, I would not be mad about it at all. Sting's going to call out Team Taz as he and Darby Allin prepare.
He does often.
He does every week, and they just drag Darby around in a body bag, so I don't know. Sting is cool, but he doesn't do much yet.
No, he hasn't
He
really
might as
done
well
much
just
of
be a
anything.
general manager.
He could do really anything as long as it's interesting.
Well, that's where what he does isn't all that interesting, so he might as well just be a general manager, you know what
I
I mean?
agree.
Kind of like William Regal. People want to see him and think he's cool, but and I don't want to bury Sting. We love Sting.
You're right,
Sting.
we're burying Sting.
He's
What
Sting,
the fuck?
but he's literally showed up on AEW every week since he debuted to hit people with a bat. Maybe he broke some glass windows a couple times. I don't even think he does the woo thing anymore. So
he does do the woo thing still. He did the woo thing last Dynamite.
All right. Well, he's not doing it enough. Sting is great though. I don't want to, but he might just be better as a general manager. That's all I'm saying. He could be the matchmaker.
I love him as Darby's manager. I just wish it wasn't the same thing every week.
Well, and this is the one feud I'll say got burned the most by pushing out the pay-per-view. It's like, how do we make this go on even longer when it's already been too long where we can't do much physically besides keep just literally killing Darby? Like, they drove him around in a body bag last week, dude, and he's probably just going to show up on Dynamite this week like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. and then jump on Team Taz or something, so it's fine, but it's tough. This is a tough feud to drag out. Jon Moxley teaming with Lance Archer and Rey Fenix to take on Eddie Kingston, the Butcher and the Blade. Poor Eddie Kingston, bro.
Yeah, man.
This is a tough draw. It feels like a glorified squash match, to say the least. The Butcher and the Blade are great, but I don't know if they're established enough to be beating Archer and Phoenix and Moxley. Kingston's great. I don't know if he's established enough to be beating Moxley and Archer. Should be fun. Should be a badass match.
Oh yeah, it'll be a great match. But like, you know who wins? Come on, don't be.
This Moxley Phoenix Archer Pac stable is very interesting. It's obviously not an official stable, but Moxley even teaming with these guys 2 weeks in a row, and I know it's not the same team, but still.
Yeah, but it's happening.
It's like a strange group, you know.
It is a strange group. It's a very odd group full of people who you think wouldn't, except for Phoenix, you would think wouldn't want to be in a team.
Yeah, but they do well to stick together and beat up Eddie Kingston all the time. So yeah, good Dynamite lined up for next week. It's definitely not anything too crazy. No New Japan representation necessarily.
Tomorrow, right? Not next week.
You know what I mean, dude.
I'm just saying, maybe they're confused.
You're right. That is tomorrow's Dynamite. Make sure you guys go check out Dark from this week. They always have some good stuff. I know my boy Nick Camarado is taking on my other boy Fuego del Sol, which is a punishment. That's a punishment for Fuego del Sol. See, I didn't even know the whole card, AJ. I just know this from watching the Sammy vlog, so maybe you should start watching some vlogs. You'll know what's going on. But Nick Camarado taking on Fuego del Sol in what's going to be a domination of poor little Fuego. He just wants to have a match with QT Marshall, which is finally going to happen on March 9th. QT Marshall versus Fuego del Sol on the Sammy Guevara vlog. It's not even happening in the Dynamite ring.
Oh, well, I picked
Fuego.
For my sleeper dark thing, Chaos Project versus Bear Country.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that on the card. Bear Country is great. I'm excited. I feel like there's gonna be more from them because we saw them get involved in some stuff a couple weeks ago. I love that I don't know so many people who are being featured on Dynamite, but I'm becoming fans of them based upon their showing. It's pushed me to start doing a series for WrestleJoy covering. It's called Shining a Light on AEW Dark, just covering some of the talent on Dark that we don't know. And like I said, it gave me the opportunity to learn a lot about Nick Camarado last week and some other talent. So
that's really awesome. Right on, man.
Yeah, so I think that's where Dark is doing a good job, and I'm excited to see where they continue on with that. People keep posting stuff about AEW's third hour, so maybe that's coming soon. Maybe after the pay-per-view. That would be my guess. Another just random speculation.
I agree.
If I'm AEW, I would announce it during Revolution. Hey, we're starting this show.
Actually, yeah.
So who knows? I think that is a good idea. AEW's been killing it. I'm very excited with what's been going on Dynamite, all that. I was watching Dynamite in the hospital on Wednesday with Brody, so he was jumping into the wrestling very early from day one, and we're gonna keep it rocking that way. So
you had to work on his big boot, young.
Yeah, he's got a little boot right now, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, good situation for Dynamite. Good week. Lots to talk about. Appreciate that. Make sure you guys start checking out those vlogs. Me and AJ were sleeping on them. I have been loving BTE. Maybe not every segment, but especially the BTE title. Sammy Guevara won it and took it to the Sammy Guevara vlog.
Oh my God!
Now he only defends it over there. They tried to steal it back by having Chris Statlander dress up as 10. And do a handstand match. So yeah, there's some good shit going on, man. She won, but they exposed that it was Chris Statlander, so Sammy's still the champ, thank God. That's my guy. So lots of good stuff to check out. We're gonna close stuff up. AJ, let them know where to find you on social media. We'll get out of here.
You can follow me on Twitter at BigMatchAJ, and you can follow me on Instagram at AJTheFitzy.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at UpstateAndrew. I'm on Instagram, I believe, at Andrew Kazier. Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/AllElitePod. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/AllElitePodcast. If you're watching this there, make sure you smash that subscribe button, brother. Find us on Twitter at AllElitePodcast and Instagram at AllElitePod. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, continuing to support the podcast. If you guys tweeted at us this week, we really appreciate that, just to know that you're looking for us and looking for the pod and that you care, because that's some good stuff. We don't always get a ton of Twitter engagement, so it's very cool when we get some people reaching out, making sure that we're still recording. So, until Thursday, we'll be back to discuss everything that happens on Dynamite, give our take on everything. Until then, see ya.
Bye.
All I see is marks and